Hello, beautiful souls. How are you? Today is 4-4. You may have heard of it as the 4-4 portal. That is not what this video is about. It actually, today is going to be a video about how some of the sisters of my soul have grown over the last year since we've all been together. As I was reading through things about the 4-4 portal and this time of year, endings and beginnings, and all sorts of things, I really started to ponder where we came from, like how far we've come in the last just 12 months. 12 months to me, it seems like um, years, really. And so I have a message that I'm going to read from someone who wants to remain anonymous, but she's definitely a soul sister. And then I have the very beautiful and very brave Aurora, and she has agreed to join today. And so she and I will kind of dig into a chat about that. But I'm going to read some responses from this anonymous sister of ours. Um, so I had posed a couple of questions. Basically, how has the world changed in a year? What hurdles have you overcome? Maybe found hurdles you didn't even know were hurdles. And how do you keep motivated in this journey? Because it's there's lots of highs and lots of lows and lots of challenges. So this is what was given. I have always known deep down inside that there was more to this world than what we were told, and I've never really fit in during this life. Over the past year, as it's almost been a full year since I had my QET session, things have improved in ways I couldn't have even dreamed. I told my counselor as I was in counseling twice a week and had been for a while that I wanted the Autobahn of healing. I had no desire to be in counseling and on healing paths for the next 20 years of my life. So I decided, why not? What I have, what do I have to lose? And I had a QET session, and it was the best decision I've ever made. Since then, I've grown in so many ways. I've truly been able to release and forgive experiences that occurred in this lifetime, but continue to haunt me. I've also been able to release and heal from so much from my past lives. My connections spiritually have grown and changed exponentially. The connecting with my soul family here and there has been amazing. Just wow. Learning to apply love, forgiveness, and gratitude has been quite a lesson. Truly framing situations and experiences in LFG, love, forgiveness, and gratitude, in the now moment is transformative. As far as why I continue, I'm not the same person that I was. And I know there is so much more than the narrative we're currently experiencing. I continue to grow for my own improvement, but also for those experiences for my children. I want to help others. In doing that, I have to help myself first. I've been trying to figure out a way to put into words how much better I feel about my mom's passing than I have in almost the last 12 years. One particular situation that has me profound improvement in my feeling is that I can now understand that she was ready to go. It didn't make it hurt any less. Over the years, I have felt a little bit better. At times, I do feel like I've healed, but there's always been a raw spot in my heart, and that raw spot has now healed, which is not something I ever thought I'd be able to say. And for that, I am so grateful. And I will add that counselor that this soul sister was seeing contacted me, and she wanted the Audubon of healing. She was in the business, still in the business. of counseling beings, and she herself recognized the over 2 week period of time, the drastic increase and improvement um, in this lady, and she wanted it for herself. Now, she did get a session and minimally kind of start doing the shadow work, but she was not committed to doing the shadow work and make the changes. And so she fell out of alignment, and I haven't heard from her in a very long time. So that brings us to Miss Aurora. What is it you would like to share?
Well, um, oh, it's a change. There's so much has happened this past year. I had my first QET with you on March 5th, the same day I quit smoking. So I've been 1 year without a cigarette, and it feels longer. It feels like it's been years.
Yeah.
And it's only been 1 year. Um, but from the very first moment that I met you and our soul siblings, I I don't know how to describe that feeling other than deep down into my soul, this inner knowing of I have known you my whole life and I love you. And that's the same feeling I got the very first time I met my husband. And I feel that those when you have those feelings for someone, it's very rare. It's not a thing that happens all the time. And the reason I know this is because since I was a little kid, being around my own family, my soul has always felt like wanting to claw its way out of my body. And then I never knew what that meant other than how my gut was feeling in those moments was that these people are not good for me and I need to get out of here now. And so when I am around those people that I do feel this connection to, and that it's kind of like this bond that's deep rooted into Huna Matea and it can't break no matter like what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
And so those are the people that I am finding myself gravitating towards more and more and more and more. And it's like when you become sober or you find something you're very passionate about, you have more of a thirst and a hunger for that and for those things because they feel good and it's supposed to feel good. It's not you're not supposed to at least in my mind, you're not supposed to feel bad and icky and miserable or suffering all the time. Those aren't things we're supposed to feel all the time. Because if you look at like those things with like the snowflakes or even bottles of water that have different words and different feelings to them, it affects them. And so, over this year, I have learned more about myself at the soul level and just how powerful and how precious my energy and attention is too. That has been probably one of the biggest lessons this past year is really having that inner knowing and understanding of who I am and how powerful my time, attention, and energy is to other people and where it should go and where it should not be going and changing those bad habits and forming new healthier ones.
Yeah.
And
There's a few things that you mentioned that I want to just touch on real quick because the message I just read also touched on that. And that is the feeling of not fitting in. And, our culture does a really shitty job of making people feel guilty about not wanting to be with your family. But sometimes we soul contracted ourselves into a really shitty family. And the lessons that those people can teach us and do teach us, sometimes it's not meant to be throughout our entire lifetime. Sometimes it was only meant to be for our childhood. or up until 20s or 30s or whatever the case may be. And then you realize that they're not good for you. You realize that they're doing everything they can to break you down. And through guilt, shame, and blame, and frustration, and fear, and all that stuff, that's why people stay connected to beings that make them feel bad, that make them feel yucky, and make them feel unworthy and undeserving, and all those things. And so to break free of that, number one, you have to be willing to listen to your gut. You have to be willing to listen to the signs that your soul is telling you. You are in a group, a setting, a home, whatever it is, that is not in your highest and best good. But we're taught as a collective, as a culture of people, to do it because it's right. It's the right thing to do. And it's not. It's exactly how people end up in bad situations. And that's exactly why whenever children say, they pull back and they don't want to go around certain people, that should be honored because they're closer to their soul connection, player abilities, guides. They can tell, just like animals, they can tell goodness and badness really quickly. And we should not be shoving our children or our pets around people that are not good. And we should listen to that and go the other way.
I
I think,
totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. I just had that discussion with my mom over the weekend. I'm like, I don't see the point. What's the point? You're
yeah,
born, because she was talking about original sin and all this, and I'm like, no, you were born of light, and children, when they're born innocent. They don't have all these things that adults, after they've incarnated here and gone through all that. These children are completely innocent of that. So they have a pure, unadulterated connection to source himself, and it's
yeah,
pure and it's magical when you can see it, because that's truth, and truth resonates at a level that you can see and feel.
yeah. Ariel, you joined us. Hello.
Is she muted?
No,
Am I muted now?
no, I can hear you now.
Okay, I must have hit the wrong button. Okay. Yes, I got a little bit of time for I got to go back to my 3D job and
Okay.
here.
Well, I'm gonna let you take the stage and you can share with us what you want to share.
What were you guys were talking about, like the children and that? I
Well,
think
we were
one
just
of
we
your
were just kind of going over some of the big things that we have grown and changed over this year. But you can share whatever you feel like sharing.
okay. Um, yeah, the big thing I noticed, a big change in myself was I started having dreams and visions, and I didn't quite know what was going on, if they were dreams or what. And then Nicole or Lucy said, no, those are from past lives. And I'm like, oh, wow, we're reincarnated, because I was always told, it was one and done. And then you went to, the elevator upstairs or the escalator downstairs, and then the visions and dreams just kept coming. And that was really awesome. And probably the other big change is realizing the power that we have within ourselves, because like you guys might have been saying earlier, I'm not sure, we're born of the light and we have this power, but they hid this from us all these years.
Yeah.
Those were two things that really, I've noticed a big change over the last year and a half, I think, journey I've been on. Might be 2 years, but I mean, I've been kind of awake for a while, but just partially awake.
Yeah.
But yeah, over the last year or so, it's really bam, Yeah.
Yeah. And the powerlessness of us being made to feel like we're just have to deal with what gets shoved our way and we don't have any power over it, we don't have any control over it or whatever. I mean, that's all part of the plan. But you wake up and you go, oh crap, all these voices I've been hearing in my head all these years, where's my team trying to help me? It wasn't just my own thoughts.
Yeah,
And
so that's what you thought, they were just mine. It's like, no, I've been talking to myself like this all my life.
and I'm not crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whoa.
Yeah. And so it's really, really for me too, you can quickly pick up on the hypocrisy of all the religions, right? Because they want you to come to church and they want you to memorize the quote unquote good book, so that you can have a relationship with God. And then as soon as you have an actual relationship with Source Creator, they call you a Satanist. Like, no, you can't. You're not good enough. You don't get to have that relationship. And so,
That's right.
yeah, you can definitely understand why they wanted to keep us ignorant for so long, because taking your power back I mean, it really pulls from them what they've been, the puppet strings that they've been manipulating for a long time.
Right. They can't control.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Ariel, I know when we first encountered each other, there was a bit of a nervousness. And then I didn't hear from you for about 6 months. Do you want to relate that?
Yeah, I think you were on that show that I watched or listened to on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember the name of it, but anyways, you know which one I mean. And I was listening to you, and I thought, oh, she makes sense. Wow, that really. And like I said, there was just something there. It seems like I've known you forever. I don't know her, you know. And then I think you contacted me on Telegram, and something about Ceef, a guy that you were working with at the time, another light worker, and doing a scan. And I'm like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, I'm not ready for this. and then the more I thought about it, the more it's like, you know what? She makes sense. I kept listening to you. But yeah, that was, as we determined, that was my fairy side.
Yeah, that's why I wanted you to
Yeah.
share it. That's what I wanted you to share.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. It's like,
if the makeup of the crew is reflective of the collective, which I believe that it is, then there's like 1% that's not fairy. And so that's a rampant characteristic of, a lack of trust, feeling like you are unworthy, feeling like you're crazy, feeling like you're just going to be set up for failure again because that's all that's ever happened in your life, that kind of thing, being
right.
manipulated.
Exactly.
And so I wanted you to share that because um in Ariel's moment of, oh fuck no, I'm not doing this, I could
Yeah,
literally
exactly.
see her like flying off like a little fairy. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I lost another fairy.
Yeah.
But I grew, and in the time that you grew and realized that it was probably a good thing for you, I also grew and learned a lot more about working with fairies.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Yes. But
it's
yeah, that
it,
was an experience. Yeah, I was scared. I really was like sick in my stomach. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this.
but she came back on her own about 6 months
Yeah.
later
Yeah.
and has continued to make this a very positive part of her life. So one of the other questions is, what motivates you to stay on this journey?
Um, basically the idea of going to do a new earth and knowing that this is not one and done.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting to find out all the lives that like my twin flame Tom and I have done and been through, and even my children, and it's just been very interesting. And it's like it's time to go. It's time to go to the 5D. I want to see it. I don't want to miss out.
Yeah.
You know, I want to do that. I want to be good enough, I guess you could say, or whatever, to do that. That's the ultimate thing. I want a better world. I want to live in a world of love, and where you don't necessarily have to lock your doors every night. You don't have to walk around, you know, concealed and carry and you know, that kind of stuff, where people are genuinely good.
Yeah. And you're already good enough, so you don't have to worry about that. And
Right.
And we're already working on things in the fifth dimension. And so you know, that learning curve was really great, I think, for all of us to realize that a lot of people feel like the work waits for us to get there and then we start it. But in reality, we're having all these parallel lives. And as soon as we put our head on the pillow to rest the avatar, our energy bodies are going to work, and we've accomplished a lot in the fifth dimension. And so I think that's been a huge motivator too, because it's not just the oh well, this is what I'm going to do when I get there, but it's in the now moment. This is what we're doing there now, and I just got to keep my frequency high and keep rising and ascending, and then I'll wake up one day and be there, right?
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, that was the parallel beings and stuff that were in parallel places at the same time was very hard to comprehend at first, but yeah, it's a hard thing to catch on to at first, but I got it. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, there's been a lot accomplished in the fifth dimension already. And yeah, see, that's what I thought. It's like, oh, everything's just waiting for us, but it's like, oh no, it's not.
Yeah. That's the whole beauty. That's the beauty about quantum. You know, where we have to get building permits and plan and loans and this and that. Here in this dimension, it's very dense, it's very slow, it's very cumbersome. And there you literally can think it and it happens. So we've learned how to traverse that and create beautiful cities and healing centers and all sorts of things. So I'm super excited to wake up there as well.
Oh, definitely. All right, ladies, I have to go back to work now.
Okay. Well, thanks for popping in and joining us.
Well, thanks for having me and asking me in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Love you.
Okay. Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So when it comes to your day-to-day, and most everybody's day-to-day, I think it looks different today than April 2023, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I know when I first started on this, I switched my perspectives on many things. And it became more important to me that I had my time to meditate in the morning. And most mornings I meditate before I even have my coffee. And that's like completely not how I used to function. Now, I still have to have my coffee. I'm not giving it up. Source says I can have it. But I used to have that before I did anything energetic at all. And it's completely different now. Like I make it and it's there, sitting there waiting on me. But I'm gonna connect, you know, on a soul level and meditate first thing in the morning to kind of get if I don't, my whole day seems to be shot. And it helps to center and ground and all those things that I didn't even know were important before, but I really they are such a pillar of how my day goes now that they are the priority for me. So, do you have anything in your day-to-day life that you changed?
Yeah. Just that meditating and grounding, I found over, learning my background and lineage and, where my soul comes from, gave me a better inner knowing and understanding of me and who I am and what I need. on the day today. And for me, it's definitely grounding, because I do have that fairy in me, and that helps the grounding. And it can come in all different kinds of forms. Even if I'm doing the dishes and I just have that water on my hands, for me, that's grounding, because it calms me down. Like, Chris could come home in a bad mood from work and it'll affect my mood, but if I'm standing in front of that sink with water running over my hands, I calm down. And then he is so sensitive to vibrations and frequency of people. He can pinpoint it as soon as his feet hit the property. He's not even in the house and he knows what kind of mood I'm in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
me being calm, the only time I've ever been like super like dead calm is when something happens to one of our kids or to him. I'm so it's weird and eerie, kind of, because I'm not ever that calm. Or even in stressful situations, like, this is something I'm so proud of, because this is something Chris and I have been working on together as a twin flame union and as a married couple, is being more united and standing up for our boundaries and honoring that together. And we recently did that a couple of weeks ago, almost a couple of weeks ago, with an incident with his sister. And it felt so freeing and felt so good afterwards. And just like, I could hear galactically people like applauding. And
Yeah.
having that just encourages you even more. So like, one of your questions was, what was it? What motivates you daily on this to keep going? Well, it's kind of like somebody asking you, how do you stay sober every day? It's a choice. You have to, as soon as you wake up and your feet hit that floor, immediately, like, my whole mentality has changed. What are you grateful for? Give me three things. That's exactly like where my mind goes. And then when my children wake up for the day, that's the first thing I say to them. Good morning. What are you grateful for? And give me three things you're grateful for, three things that you love. And they're spouting it off now, like that. So, like, I've incorporated everything I'm learning as my soul's growing, and then I'm using it on my kids. And now my kids are using it on my husband. Like, over the weekend, Connor right away, sees Dad, good morning. What are you grateful for? Give me three things. And, Dad's playing along because he thinks it's 20 questions, So,
That's
but,
awesome.
yeah, it makes it fun, and they're having fun too. And,
Yeah, and your life is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be rewarding. It's supposed to be a positive place to embody learning things in different ways. And when you always wake up and you're surrounded by people that are bitching and moaning and complaining, or just can't do anything right and that kind of stuff, that's not a real big incentive to go spend more time with them. You know, and to give your children that tool very early on, I think that will pay off in spades in the future, because others will try to poke them to get them to maybe behave in a way that's probably not in their highest and best, and they are going to already know some of the ins and outs of the game, where
yeah,
any event in any situation can be given love, forgiveness, and gratitude. And it's not about the other people involved. It's not really about the other people at all. It's more about you, so that you can heal from it, not create a wound that is the soul suck of all your energy forever, and rise above it and let it go. And not a feeling of um they got one over on me, or I wish I'd have said that. None of that stuff even exists when you truly heal from something, because your ego is out of it. You're not playing the game anymore of the lower dimensional, low vibrational feelings and emotions. Someone can blame you for things or try to make you feel guilty about something, and it just rolls off your back because you've done the work. And how much different would our lives be and have been if we learned that or remembered that early on. I know it wasn't in our soul contract to do that. I get that now, but the benefit of the younger generations is that they're coming in with all this stuff in their toolbox already, and they're just wanting to land in a place that it's accepting of them the way that they are. They will teach us, they will guide us. We're having to find our way back to it, and they've never left it. And so there's definitely a gray area where we can meet in the middle, and they have so much to show us. And, if you're listening to your ego, or you're listening to your community or your family or whatever, you're going to try to be, potentially, you're going to try to be the parent that always has to, say, do what I say, not what I do, kind of a thing. And we've seen how well that's worked out for people. And it's usually not very well at all. So I'm super happy that you're incorporating that. And, even when you have a partner that's he or she may not be completely, totally as awake as you are, you can still pull them in to these situations where they're participating. It's benevolent. It's all in the highest and best good. It's full of love. They're just going to get it in a different package.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the boys, like different things that we work on and stuff with them, and like LFG, they were like, what is that? And I'm explaining the love and gratitude and forgiveness and how it all goes together. And so, they're now wanting, they're starting to practice these things too. And so I think it's awesome they want to incorporate dad into it too. Why not? We're a family unit, and
I think a lot of people, I'll just explain. Love, forgiveness, and gratitude came to us in a vision. I think it came to many of us at the same time, but in different forms. And it came through the archangels, source creator, Mother Sophia, White Buffalo Calf Woman, which is our grand. And it was really in a way to handle any shadow work, especially things that you really don't even know where to begin to deal with. And so you go within that LFG triangle where love is at the top, forgiveness is on bottom corner on one side, and gratitude on the other side. And it makes up the components that get you to healing, true healing. And so that was given to us as a gift, and we have incorporated it in our day-to-day lives ever since then, and have tried to teach others about it. And so if you don't get anything from this video besides that, love, forgiveness, and gratitude is a very positive way to engage with people energetically when there could have been some things in the past that weren't so great and wonderful. And so everybody can heal going forward. But I also wanted to ask about hurdles. What did you identify as a hurdle, maybe that you didn't even know was a hurdle? And how did you handle it?
Hurdle. I wrote this one down because I was having a hard time with that. And for the past, like, I want to say 6, well, maybe 7 years, I've been really working on letting go of attachments to people, places, and things. And through this, I garnered, after meeting you and the rest of our soul family and knowing what we know now, wow. And so I've learned a lot more. But for some reason, I don't know why it's this way, but it is super hard letting go of attachments to people. And I have a theory behind this. I think a lot of it has to do with the way we've been indoctrinated and brainwashed to think that we have to have this attachment to toxic, narcissistic people within our family units or acquaintances, or anything. And those aren't healthy relationships. Those aren't healthy things to have in your life or healthy people to have in your life. And so we have all this. Plus, then you have, social media coming at you and media and Hollywood and all this crap. And they're all telling you, like, oh, you need to be a size 1. And you're just looking at it, you're crazy. Because I love my food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, so like it's changing your perspective on things too. But it's the attachments to people that I had the hardest time with when I was first going through this. Because the first person I lose during this time period is my grandpa, my dad's dad. And I was very close to him growing up. And he's the one that taught me about love, pure, unconditional love, and telling me all the time, you need to love yourself. You need to love yourself. And I never really understood that even as a kid. In a way I did, but in a way I didn't, especially as a teenager and growing up and becoming a young woman. That was very difficult. But I had a second mom who I felt was, since I was very little when I first met her, that's my mom. And she taught me that self-love and how important it was. And she imparted that to me, and I've imparted it onto my boys. And I know boys don't really get up with that whole stigma, but I've seen it. I've seen it with my oldest son when he was 10, having 10 years old, a little boy, 10 years old, having body image issues. I'm like, what is wrong with this world that a 10-year-old little boy doesn't have the self-confidence and self-esteem to embrace himself and
Yeah.
love himself? And so, Chris, my husband's not real into that, but as I've gone through it and done it on myself and then incorporated it with our kids, um, I've seen him lately even telling them to love themselves. It's okay, and telling them it's okay to cry or it's okay to be angry. It's when you have the negative feelings that come with it, you need to find a healthy outlet to get it out. And so showing them that, hey, let's break sticks or for the fire pit, or let's break some of these dishes that mom says it's okay. That day that we did that, they were looking at me like mom had grown 2 heads, and they're just like, but we break stuff and you get mad. Like,
That's awesome.
so, showing them that, hey, it's okay. And then also too, even when you are in that heat of the moment when your child might break something, it's a material thing. Why
Yeah.
are you so attached to it? Because you can't take it with you when this thing falls apart and goes away. So why are we holding on to these things that quite honestly don't serve our higher purpose and aren't honestly for our highest, best, and good?
Right.
So
And that's another thing too, is that it's judgment, right? It's all those low vibrational things. And when you mention like social media and all that, they're more into quantity over quality. How many likes did this person have, and how many viewers do they have, and how many followers do they have, and all those things. Where if you put that celebrity in a room with all their followers, I don't know that there'd be a connection with any of them, because it's all on made up, superficial, outside of the body, outside of the soul type relationships. And so that's exactly what the culture pushes us toward. And it's what makes us feel in a room full of people completely alone. So they can be your family and they can be your followers. They can still feel completely alone because there is no soul to soul connection. Where I have a soul connection with all of my soul siblings, and it has always been a feeling of finding a piece of home when we connect with one another. And it's a piece of home that we have longed for, no matter where we are or what kind of home we have or anything like that. It's outside of this dimension. So it feels completely different in a positive way. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
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 So
Because
I'm
even
not.
like, well, I was going to add to that too, that, but I lost my thought. So it's okay because I can't get it back. All right.
Very. Um, 1 second, 1 second, real quick. So when it comes to a year later,
Mhm.
year later, um, there's always another portal. There's always another like cosmic event. There's always another blah blah blah. Um, but we know a lot more now than we knew then. Some things that we thought we knew turned out to be inaccurate. Shocker. Um, some people that we knew then fell off the rails with their ego and are no longer in alignment and all that kind of stuff. And so whenever you're mentioning it's hardest to let go of people, and I had by and large detached from anything that was my old life before ever even well, right around the same time of starting my YouTube channel, because I had been on that trajectory already. I had already been identifying what was not good for me and what was, and at the end of the day, it didn't leave much. It didn't leave much in my surroundings for what was good for me. Anyway, I started to encounter soul family, and it was exactly how Source said it would be. Just put the videos out there, and they're gonna find you, because I had that like weight of the world mentality of I got to find out my soul family members, and how am I going to do that? And then encountering them, I've felt immediately connected to them on a very deep level. And although everybody was individual, it just was this common like piece of home. And then working through that with them for their QET session and helping them figure out how to talk to their higher self and how to confirm things, all this kind of stuff. It's kind of like this mama bear role that I took on, where I was just like so super proud of everybody's achievements and all these things. And they get to a certain point in their shadow work, and their ego wins the battle and completely derails the being, and I have to let them go. And it's been incredibly hard year. There's been a ton of people who were blessed with a walk-in soul of our family, soul family, and completely destroyed those opportunities and made really poor choices, in my opinion, listening to the ego and that kind of thing. And so that's been where it's been hard for me to let people go, where I had to detach from the soul sibling, where the true lineage and relationship is, and separate that out from the human. And even though I I wanted them to want it, like I wanted it for them. But I'm not in control of other beings. I'm only in control of a little bit of what I do. The rest of it's just energy. And so that's where I've been able to grow and let go of understanding that people have their own free will choice. And no matter how much help, guidance, coaching, assistance, videos you do, people will still make their decisions in that moment based on whatever's presented to them. And we have to honor that and let it be. And so it's been hard. I've had to say goodbye to some really good people that I thought were good people, who then changed. And that's been the hurdle that's given me the most pause, I guess, over the year.
Yeah, it kind of brought me back to that saying from the back channel. What was it? You want everyone you start out with may not end end with you. And that has stuck out to me since I had first seen it back in, what was it, 2017, 2018. And it stuck with me for some reason. I don't know why, but I can honestly say that I've seen that within my own family, acquaintances of my family and my husband's, and, people from our group, people we used to interact with on YouTube. And I can honestly say, the truther community, there's a lot there too, where people have gone their separate ways and they decided to go down a path that, you know, good for them, for whatever, but, I don't, it does not resonate with my soul, and that's okay,
Yeah, it is. And I think too that the single common denominator is ego in all of those situations, you
Yeah.
know, and where we as a people have to understand that you do not need your ego to survive. In fact,
Mm-mm.
your ego is only for this one life, and your higher self and your soul, as long as it is intact, is with you many, many, many lives. Good lives, bad lives, it doesn't matter. That soul energy cannot be destroyed, but it can leave a human. So if you have a benevolent soul and that soul is not wanting to be a part of your ego's life choices, that soul will eject from you. A human does not need a soul to be walking around, breathing, having a life, making choices, and creating chaos.
Yeah,
That's the ego.
I've seen
Uh,
that.
yeah. And that's another mind bender that I wasn't exactly sure how to process when I first heard it. But now I do understand, and I do. It's actually helped me in that hurdle that I mentioned a bit ago about, the human versus the soul, to realize that our soul siblings have left these humans that they chose to walk into to help them in their life. And the soul is fine. The soul is healthy. The soul is healed. The soul is not damaged. It's the human that suffers. And so, unfortunately, that's been the case time and time again. And every single one says the same thing. I'm great. I'm good. I'm fine. It must be on your end, so
Yep. Eventually, accountability comes into play.
eventually,
And
think,
yeah, and you can't hide from it. You can't,
right.
if you can't be honest with yourself and take accountability for your actions and your behavior and the things you say and do, then what's the point?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
that's, I think accountability is a big thing. That's been a big thing that's kind of intertwined into everything that I've learned over the past year is, you know, it's not outside of you. It's all within you.
Yeah.
And when you start there, that I think that's like the first step you do is you go within right away.
Yeah. So the long and not so short story is that when you're on this ascension journey, you're going to ascend as long as you can maintain possession of your soul. If you have questions about that, go in and check my videos out about that. It's unfortunately a very real possibility for some. And while we have done a great amount of work on cleaning up the darkness of this entire world and universe, they're still out there. And the biggest derailer of the ascension for anyone is your own ego. So, no need to spread shame, blame, guilt, fear, all those things to others. Just go within. I want to thank you, Aurora, for spending some time with me today and for celebrating the successes that you've had over the last 12 months. Congratulations on continuing to be tobacco free.
Yes.
That is definitely a daily battle, I'm sure. And if anyone is interested in discovering what a QET session can do for you, please send me an email. It'll be in the description box of this video. Thank you, and you guys have a great day.